President Trump picked up 3 big wins in the primaries overnight. Candidates that he backed did prevail in the primary. So what message does that send to Republicans across the country? Joining us now, Corey Lewandowski. He's the chief strategist of the Great America Committee PAC and the former campaign manager for President Trump. Corey, thanks so much for joining us. The races everyone was watching, Henry McMaster in South Carolina and Dan Donovan here in New York. The president went out for them pretty hard. They won. What does that tell you?
Well, it tells me the president continues to be exceptionally popular with the Republican electorate, those people who voted him into office. And if you look at what this administration did when it came to South Carolina, Henry McMaster specifically was a very early supporter of candidate Trump. President Trump was down in South Carolina over the weekend. On Monday. The vice president was down there. And this is a race where they wanted to make sure that the people of South Carolina knew that Henry was on the Trump agenda. They went down there in full force, and the voters turned out to support Henry McMaster in what was a runoff election. Yeah,
clearly McMaster needed it. I mean, he barely won down there in the runoff election. You say the president continues to have success. This is actually different than what we saw in Alabama in the Senate race there. He was a 2-time loser in that race, candidates the president supported. And in Pennsylvania, of course, he lost that special election race when he came out against Conor Lamb. So this is actually a new level of success for the president. Why?
Well, I don't think so. I think if you look across the board, I believe the president's going out to North Dakota today to do an event out there for Congressman Kramer, who's running against Heidi Heitkamp, who continues to say that she's part of agenda, except she voted against, as every Democrat did, and you know this, against the historic tax cuts to help working class families. And so look, when you're a Republican and you're in a primary race and you are trying to decide if you're going to support or oppose the Trump agenda, it's very clear that the Trump base is holding very strong. It's continuing to grow. And so in those Republican primary races, Donald Trump continues to be very, very successful.
Corey, how is it that HHS has only reunited 6 children that the government separated from their parents? 6 children within the last week. Does that represent competence to you?
Look, I don't know that number to be accurate. I don't know where it comes from.
It comes from HHS. It comes from HHS. HHS itself tells us that they have reunited 6 children with their parents in the last week. There are 2,047 children under HHS custody right now. 1 week ago, it was 253. So that data is from the U.S. government.
So there was 253 people in custody last week, and now there's 2,047
people? 2,053. Now there are 2,000.
Okay, I just think you misspoke. So look, I don't work for the administration, so let me be clear about that. But I will also be clear. I don't think parents should be separated from their children, but I also don't think parents should be coming to the country illegally. So we have to solve the problem. And it looks now that we have a federal judge who said, and this has been standing for a long time, that children cannot be separated from their parents for more than 20 days. It's a policy that this administration is going to follow and adhere to, because that's what the federal law says. So what we need to do is we need to make sure that people understand that if they come to the country illegally...
Corey, I'm asking you about basic competence here. You said you do not think that children should be separated from the parents. The president signed an executive order to the same effect last week, and yet the government is unable to reunify them. I'm not talking about the policy. I'm talking about the competence here.
Look, I don't work for the government, so if you want to interview a government employee, you're welcome to do that.
But are you impressed by that number?
Look, we can have a conversation about what is right and what is wrong on the border, and I think it's a very important conversation. And I've said, I don't think parents should be separated from their children. But we also have to be clear. If they were in any other country and they came into the country illegally, in any country in the world, they'd be separated. So we have to understand that first and foremost. Number 2, what we have to understand is you're putting those children in grave danger by bringing them to this country illegally through coyotes, through all of the problems that they face. And so, look, let's get the problem solved by giving people an opportunity to come to this country legally. Then it solves the problem.
This is America. First of all, let's just establish we're talking about America here, the country that you and I both live in, and the country that separated these children from their parents. A federal judge overnight ruled that children younger than 5 have to be reunited within the next 14 days, children older than 5 in the next 30 days. And the judge said the unfortunate reality is that under the present system, migrant children are not accounted for with the same efficiency as property.
Well, look, that's a terrible thing, but we also have a significant problem.
So fix it.
Look, this problem. Okay, if you'd like me to answer, I'll be happy to. You can have the interview yourself. Do you want me to answer it now?
Go ahead.
Okay, number 1, I don't work for the government. Number two, you can't tell me within 1 million people how many illegal immigrants are in this country, and that's a problem. We don't know within 3 million people how many illegals are in this country. That's a problem.
But
it has been a problem that has persisted for a long time.
Corey,
and this administration, which I do not work for, has finally tried to do something, which is to sign an executive order which did not exist under the previous administration of stopping parents from being separated from their families.
You're saying we don't know how many illegal immigrants are here.
We don't know.
We do know.
You can't tell me within 5 million people.
HHS told us
tell me
overnight.
within 5 million people how many illegals are living in this country.
Because HHS told us overnight that 2,043 children have not been reunited with their parents.
John, you tell me how many illegals are living in this country, John.
I don't
know. How many
know.
illegals?
I don't know.
John, within 3 million, you tell me. Is it 2 million? Is it 5?
Corey,
is it 5 or is it 8?
That's not the issue.
The issue, John, because our borders are so broken.
It is not the issue,
John,
because the president has said that he will not separate parents from their children anymore.
That's right, John. But the issue is an immigration issue.
I'm talking about these 2,000 children.
John, the issue is an immigration issue. And the fact that we have a city the size of New York, which has 8 million people in it, and we don't know if there's 8 million illegals living in this country or 2 million, is a problem. So let's fix the broken immigration system so we don't have these problems.
Good. Let's fix that, and let's reunite those children with their parents.
Everybody agrees with that.
Then do it. Then do it more than 6. Corey, you could have walked more than 6 of them to their parents within the last week.
John, I don't know the specific cases. I don't know where the parents are. What we do know is that most of the times when those parents are separated, those individuals who break the law by coming into the country illegally don't show up for court. I don't know where they are today. I don't know what the specific cases are. I don't work for the government.
There's a 25%, that's not most, 25% in absentia rate. Corey, I do want to shift gears and get your take on another thing.